Hello, tonight's story is called Grub in Love. That's Grub there. What a cute puppy dog he is. This is me. I'm Ruby. And this is Grub. He is a grubby mucky pup and he's always getting into trouble. But this time you just won't believe what happened. Some new people moved in next door. There was a boy called Billy. I'm not very happy about that because I don't like boys. And there was a dog called Tilly, and Grub wasn't very happy about that. Grub crouched by the fence and growled, and he wouldn't move, and he shook his head at the flowers, and he shook his head at the fence, and he was definitely not happy. One day I moved a plank and peeked through the fence, and Billy and Tilly were playing football, and it looked like lots of fun. I wish I could play. Grub just growled. And then, guess what happened? Billy kicked the ball right over our fence. Do you know what Grub did? He chased it, and he kicked it, and he headed it, and he rolled right over it. And Billy passed through the side of the fence, and he laughed, and Billy looked like fun. Perhaps I could like him just a little bit, even if he is a boy. I wish Grub liked Tilly, but he just growled. And then after the first day, and the second day, and the third, and the fourth, Grub stopped growling. Do you know why? He was peeping at Tilly through the fence. And Tilly was peeping at Grub through the fence. Then the trouble really started. Grub moaned, and he groaned, and he grunted and grumbled and snorted and sniffled, and I said, "Here, Grub, dig!" But Grub wouldn't dig. And do you know what he did? He hung his head, and his ears went flip-flop. At night he made this crying noise. Ow! And Mum covered her ears, and Dad covered his ears, and I covered my ears, and my little brother Joe covered his eyes. Because I don't know why he covered his eyes though. Mum said, "Grub's in love. He's pining." It sounded more like whining to me. Joe was too little to understand. He thought Grub had got a cold, and he sat in Grub's basket and patted his head. "Poor Grub," he said. In the morning, Grub wouldn't eat his food. He just stared at it, and then he stared at me. And I scratched his floppy ears, and that cheered him up just a little bit. Billy and Tilly was just the same. Billy and Tilly said Tilly would only eat cheese and crusty bread. I think Tilly might be French. We bought Grub a toy bird to cheer him up. "Look, Grub," I said, "you'll love her. She's got a squeak." But Grub didn't love her at all. Not one little bit. I think Mum's right. Grub loves Tilly. The next day, Grub started digging again, under the fence. And do you know what Tilly did? Tilly started digging under the fence. I pulled and pulled to get Grub back, and Billy pulled and pulled to get Tilly back, and then they both started whining. "Oh, I've had enough," said Mum. So me and Billy had a meeting by the fence, and it was very important. We talked about Grub and Tilly, and then we went and had lemonade ices, and we hunted for snails, and I collected them in a bucket, and we had 9. But we still didn't know what to do about Grub and Tilly. And that night, Grub scratched and scratched and scratched at the back door and made all the paint come off. It looked such a mess. "That's it," said Mum. "I've had enough." So the next day, my mum and Billy's mum and me and Billy decided to have a picnic, all of us together, with Grub and Tilly. It was the best picnic ever. And we had bread and cheese and strawberry tarts, and we played football. And do you know what Grub and Tilly did? They raced round the trees, and they chased each other's tails, and they ran so far that we had to go and look for them. And when we found them, Grub had the waggiest tail that I've ever seen. And in the morning, Grub ate all his food. "Good dog, Grub," said Joe. And then Grub dug his 3 holes in the garden. "Bad dog," said Joe. But it wasn't bad really. It was good, because a digging grub is a happy grub. "Would you like to go for a picnic again with Tilly?" I asked Grub. And do you know what Grub did? He gave me the biggest, muckiest hug ever. There he is. He loved Tilly. Night, night. God bless.